Hi, everybody. Aaron here. I have not made YouTube content in a while, and I just wanted to jump on and talk to you guys. And I want to be very vulnerable, very transparent here. And I would love to dialogue with some of you in the comments to see if you resonate with this video, if you resonate with my experiences. I just want to share where I've been the last few years. And I kind of want to title this video something like, where do we go from here? And what do I mean by that? What do I mean, where do we go from here? A lot of people in this community have deconstructed from Christianity. I know several of you from your comments were very involved. Some of you were in ministry. Some of you were very involved in volunteer programs and things in your church, very committed to your faith, very committed to religion. But you had a lot of questions. Like me, you had a lot of questions. You had a lot of things that didn't resonate with you about Christianity. For some of you, maybe it was you had you didn't resonate on the messages that were coming across from the pulpit about sexuality, or you had questions about the science and how to reconcile science and creationism and evolution and the Bible, and or you just didn't like the spirit of what was coming at you, and you experienced religious trauma in your experiences. I know I very much did experience religious trauma through my experiences in going through the church and with the Christian religion. And so when I'm talking about where do we go from here, I'm talking about what do, so here's who I'm aiming this video at. I'm wondering if there are other people out there that are like me, that you went through this incredible deconstruction process that was grueling, that was painful, that caused you to lose relationships, maybe caused you to lose social status or reputation, because you were so invested in your religious community that all of your relationships and family and everything kind of centered around the religious activity. At least for me, I can definitely say that all of my relationships, family, friends, colleagues, almost all of it was fully invested and centered around ministry and centered around the church and centered around the Christian faith. And I have spent, this started for me in, really it started for me in 2010. So I guess you could say I've spent the last, 13 years. It's hard to believe that. The last 13 years sort of deconstructing, doing lots of research, posting videos, posting different perspectives, sometimes subversive readings of the scriptures or alternative readings of the scriptures. And then I've also spent the last 6 or 7 years, and even before that probably, but more intensely researching different spiritual paths, looking at everything from the occult to the New Age movement to ancient aliens, and are there aliens among us right now, to shamanism, all kinds of different things. And then the last couple of years, I've really explored atheism. And maybe there is nothing out there. Maybe there is nothing transcendent. Maybe there is nothing that we can call paranormal or supernatural. And listen to those arguments and find them compelling, find them to be substantial, and realize that there are a lot of arguments that atheists make that I cannot have a good response to in terms of the statements that they're making. But at the same time, I also had a connection the entire time I was in religion. I mean, set the religion aside, set the religious trauma aside. I always felt a connection to the transcendent, to God, to the spiritual dimensions. I've consistently had synchronicities and had what I felt like were leadings. I guess you could say I felt like I had this calling on my life to do something, that there's a force, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it source, whether you want to call it the divine, the goddess, the universe, doesn't really matter to me. That's getting into the weeds of semantics. But still feeling like my life's purpose is about making some kind of a valuable spiritual contribution to this world and a valuable spiritual contribution to other people, but so deconstructed from my faith that I didn't know where to land. And so I felt oftentimes like a tourist. You know, I'm touring this spiritual path and this spiritual path, and what do these people think, and what do these people think, and finding a lot of similarities in them. And yet this atheistic philosophy sort of wrestling with that as well. And so that's who I'm making this video for. If you're kind of like me and you're like, okay, I've deconstructed or I'm looking at my faith very differently now. It's been a painful process for me, but I still can't let go of spirituality. I still can't let go. I still can't become just a full-on atheist or materialist. And I think we need to recognize and honor the fact that spirituality, the belief in the transcendent, the belief in the paranormal, is a common thread through human experience from our very beginnings. What's interesting to note is that oftentimes people who have, there are people in all cultures and throughout all generations that have what they believe to be encounters with transcendent, immaterial, or non-physical beings. They have things like visions or premonitions or intuitions, so they can relate to a governing force, something that gives life meaning beyond this material, physical existence and reality. Just as a casual observer, one of the things that I've noticed is that people who deconstruct from their Christian faith and move into atheism, more often than not, in my experience with this group of people, so this isn't empirical, and I know atheists get really hung up on the empirical evidence, but more often than not, they didn't necessarily have ongoing experiences or a sense of an ongoing connection with God or with the transcendent in their daily experience, answered prayers in their daily experience, miracles in their daily experience, synchronicities in their daily experience. And so really, in my view, what ends up happening is they just deconstruct from the Christian philosophy of life, and then they embrace the atheistic philosophy of life. And many of them, and I'm not trying to offend any atheists that are out there, I have one of my best friends in the world that's an atheist, and many other people that I admire and respect and look up to as thinkers that are atheists. But based on the social media platforms that I've been on, I've discovered that a lot of Christians who deconstruct into atheism become just as dogmatic about their atheism as they are about their Christian experience. They become just as they have more zeal sometimes to convert people to atheism than they had zeal to convert people to Christ. So while they may have changed their philosophies, their commitment to dogma has stayed the same. And if I've lost anything in the last 13 years of this process, it's been my commitment to dogma, my commitment to certainty. And that has made it difficult to know where to land the plane, to know how to proceed. How do I honor the parts of myself that want to embrace the mystery of the human experience on the transcendent and paranormal level? I want to be able to honor the experiences with the mystical and the transcendent and the supernatural that I've had in the past, but I want to disconnect from all the toxicity of the Christian faith, at least the version of it that I was a part of, and what I think it perpetrates on other people, the damage that I've seen and the harm that has been done to other people. Now, some of you know that I do coaching and I do counseling. And so I've tried my hand at that, and I've enjoyed it. I enjoy working with clients. I enjoy walking with people through their pain and through their processing. I enjoy that very, very much. But in doing that process, I still felt, after the last couple of years, unfulfilled. If there's any verse in the Bible that I can relate to, it's at the end of Hebrews chapter 12, where it says there's coming a time when everything that can be shaken will be shaken, and only that which cannot be shaken will remain. Well, I have been through a tremendous shaking in my life in the last 13 years. That has been a really difficult deconstruction process, while at the same time not willing to give up on God or the transcendent or the spiritual. And so one of the things that I found out was that Christians, evangelical Christians or charismatic Christians or Orthodox Christians or Catholic faith, whatever it is that people identify as connected to Jesus and the Bible and the Christian tradition, the one thing they all have in common is that they believe that that Jesus represents, and their version of Jesus, their version of the faith, represents an exclusive pathway to the divine, an exclusive pathway to the paranormal. And yet there are millions and maybe even billions of people on the planet that experience the transcendent and that experience the paranormal, that experience the supernatural, that feel a sense of connection to something beyond this material world and something beyond just this life. So here's what I'm interested in, and I'm hoping that you'll comment. Number one, I'm hoping if you find yourself in this same dilemma that I'm in, please just say, that's me, or I can relate, or share something about your experiences in the comment section so that I can go look at it. If you want to answer the question, how do we go forward, or where do we go from here? Put something in the comments. And then I'm specifically interested if there is enough of a viewing audience with this channel that it would be worth my time and effort and energy to devote to building a community of people on social media around the world that are wanting to explore the transcendent and wanting to explore the metaphysical and feel that sense of calling and feel that sense of pulling and want to be able to connect and explore some of these things together in sort of an online community setting. And if that's you, I'm definitely interested in connecting with you. So please leave your name in the comments. I want to connect with you. I want to find out about your journey. Now, last part of this video, what I want to do is, if you find yourself in this place, number one, I want you to know you are not alone. You are not alone. And believe me, I know how gut-wrenching and difficult this probably has been for many of you, because I've experienced the same kind of gut-wrenching difficulties. And part of the reason I haven't been active on this channel is because I haven't known what kind of content to create. So even if this doesn't apply to you, even if you're an atheist, but you've enjoyed the content on the channel, let me know what kind of content you've enjoyed so that I know that I'm making the best use of my time right now to make the best contribution that I can possibly make. But if, like me, you're like, I want to let go of religion, but I can't let go of the spirituality, the metaphysics, the mystical side of it, however you want to define that for yourself. Again, like I said, I'm not committed to dogma. Then let me just share some encouragement with you. First off, you're not alone. I already said that. Secondly, it's okay to be uncertain. I want to encourage you to embrace uncertainty and mystery. I want you to know you're not alone, not just because I'm saying I've gone through it too, but again, there are millions of people, billions of people down through human history who have been mystics, who have been sages, who have been shamans, who have been healers, who have had a calling from God, or they're just have been impacted by paranormal type experiences throughout their life, or they just have a sense that there's something greater and something bigger out there. Number one, you don't have to be committed to dogma, because here's the thing. If God wanted us all to be the same and wanted us all to believe the same, and if God loves us and God was going to stake our eternal existence and being, whether or not we go to heaven or hell here, then I think there would be a higher level of certainty. And I want to, I can with certainty say there is no certainty out there about the Gospels, about the existence of hell, about the existence of heaven, about who Jesus was. There's even competing visions about who Jesus is and what was believed in the Bible itself, the text that we take it from. So that's the first thing I want to say. Don't you think if God was really wrathful and ready to roast sinners, but loved us so much that he wanted to make a pathway to salvation available to us, wouldn't he make it more clear what that path is? And wouldn't it get, and the person who's diligent in their study, like I have been for the last 13 years, and diligently exploring and looking for the truth, wouldn't the truth of Jesus Christ as Savior, as saving us from hell, become more clear after that study? Wouldn't it become more clear after that heartfelt search? Instead, it just becomes less clear. It unravels like you start pulling in a string to the sweater, and the more you pull, the more it unravels. Or you start pulling apart the layers of the onion, and pretty soon you don't have an onion left. And that's been my experience, and that's been the experience of thousands of people that I know personally who have, or at least casually, thousands of people that I know of who they in their quest for finding the truth, they don't find more stability, they find more instability. So if nothing else, I hope that will give you some comfort, because one of the things that can be a real challenge for Christians, especially if you came up in a lot of hellfire and brimstone type preaching, or the devil's out there to deceive you, or at the end of the times, there's going to come a massive falling away. Those are subconscious, almost hypnotic triggers that are placed inside our subconscious, so that when we do begin to ask questions, and when we do begin to explore, and when we do begin to come around and say, hey, maybe this isn't as solid or as substantial as I have, there's those implanted unwanted auto suggestions that say, oh, or I could be part of the great falling away, or, oh, I could walk away from my faith and then I could spend all eternity being tormented. I mean, like if God's omniscient, he's all knowing, then wouldn't he have killed you first? Wouldn't he have arranged for something? So like in my case, I could have died when I was at the peak of my Christian faith and totally committed to it, rather than where I'm at now. If the stakes are really that high, I guess what I'm saying is that Christianity and evangelicalism tells us that God is playing a very high stakes game, but he doesn't play the high stakes game very well or very effectively, because he doesn't manage those high stakes in order to save the greatest amount of people as possible. So number one, I want to encourage you that you're not alone. Number two, I want to encourage you to embrace the uncertainty and the mystery of it, and feel free to explore. Feel free to explore other groups and other spiritual paths and what resonates with you and what works for you, without being committed to the dogmatism of the dogma of this is the way and this is the only way. And then third, finally, be aware of those subconscious triggers. And I would frame it this way, again, just to summarize. Wouldn't it make sense, if God is playing such a high stakes game and he wants to save as many people as possible, that he would make certainty more of a probability as you begin to do the studies and as you begin to experience life than what we are experiencing? So perhaps there's something else going on. Perhaps there is a shaking that's going on. Perhaps there is that God is guiding and leading some of us to leave these boxes of Christian tradition and Christian religion, to expand and raise consciousness, so that we can, so that we as a human species, or as least as parts of that human species, can frame out something that's true. Perhaps the way we were taught and the faith that we believed, perhaps that was the deception. Who knows? But I do believe there is an awakening going on. There is something going on within the world today. There is something going on with the younger generations today, where they're walking away from the traditionalism of the faith that once was, and there is a new world emerging. And I don't think that new world has to be strictly materialistic. I don't think it has to be strictly scientific. I think that there can be spiritual answers, and there are spiritual answers out there for those of us that are seekers. So don't want to keep you real long on this video. If you're a seeker, again, please comment. I want to connect with you. Please let me know what kind of content you want to see in the future on this channel. And whenever you're watching this, at whatever time or whatever context you find yourself in, I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're blessed. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. Thank you for taking the time to comment. I appreciate everybody on this channel very, very much. I'll see you next time.